Australia is in huge trouble when it comes to energy. Now, we pick up the Australian newspaper yesterday morning. It's been followed up again today with the Australian Energy Market Operator, known obviously as AEMO, warning that there could be blackouts this summer. Now, I'm still not sure whether that warning from AEMO was to try and get more investment into green energy or whether they are really concerned about whether the grid is capable of powering Australian homes through a hot summer. We've got an Energy Minister, Chris Bowen, who I told you last night is hell-bent on pushing forward with this agenda to replace those coal generators with weather-dependent, Chinese-made wind and solar farms. I've mentioned a couple of times the solar farm I saw halfway up the Hume Highway on the way to Sydney the other day. It's massive, over 360 acres. And we're going to get farmers all upset by the fact that these companies are going to want to acquire their land. Now, this grid's got to be built through pristine farming country, and they're going to have to bulldoze that agricultural land to erect wind towers, some of which the farmers will get compensation for, and I know that some won't, that they will be compulsorily acquired. This on top, of course, of batteries that can only power a city for a matter of minutes. They're over budget. You've got Snowy 2.0, which is now hopelessly over budget, that pumped hydro scheme. You couldn't make this up if you tried. Joining me now to get the latest on this is someone who's been pushing back against this for years and years, Liberal National Senator for Queensland, Matt Canavan. Great to catch up with you again. I was listening to the Country Hour, of all things, Matt, on ABC Radio the other day, driving back from Sydney, and I heard a bloke who runs the transmission construction company of Victoria, that he has now got a plan to carve a 2-kilometre wide, 100 kilometres long curve straight through the middle of farming land of Victoria to get these towers from a solar farm back to the edges of Melbourne. It's unbelievable.
Well, and that's why you're seeing the massive reaction from farmers all around the country. This is the biggest issue in the bush. I'm constantly besieged by farmers all around the country who are having their lands ripped up by this rush to renewable energy. And keep in mind, it's not just farmland there, it's often wilderness areas. Koalas don't seem to cop any kind of consideration from these greenies. If a few koalas have to die in our futile pursuit to change the temperature of the globe, well, that's just the eggs that have to be broken to make the omelette, according to these zealots in the green energy industry. And of course, a lot of people are making a lot of money at the end of this, mainly off the back of your higher power prices. So you just don't know why we keep doing this, and particularly the head in the sand approach by Chris Bowen. I mean, he gave a speech a few months ago where he read out, presumably unironically, that we need to install, under his plan, we need to install 22,000 solar panels a day and build 40 massive wind turbines every month. You'd think just reading that out, he might have thought and had a thought to himself, is this possible? Can we actually do this? It's insane. And now he's complaining and throwing his hands up in the air about how it's all going too slow and still blaming, of course, the coalition government for it, even though he's in power. So I just hope someone's got to shake this bloke and say, mate, come on, wake up to yourself before the lights go out and thousands of Australians lose their jobs.
Well, to that, I mean, you know, I've interviewed Chris Bowen a few times. I mean, he's become in government a zealot, it would seem to me. But he's not a dumb person. I mean, anyone who gets to the position that he's in and you're in, you're smart people. Surely when he puts his head on the pillow at night, doesn't he wake up, you know, and think to himself, well, this is not going to happen. We can't do it. I mean, it's an impossibility. All you've got to do is look at what you've just described, the reality of what's got to be constructed. I mean, the bloke I heard on radio, he was talking about having a map and then sending people out to approach individual property owners. They haven't even started yet. So this is not going to happen in any time soon, is it?
Well, in my view, Chris Bowen's not trying to get your power prices down. Chris Bowen wants to be Prime Minister. That's what he wants to do. And the reason he is a zealot on this stuff is because he's trying to curry favour with the left wing of the Labor Party, which now dictate who is the leader of the Labor Party. They've got a democratically run process among their members, a voting process, most of whom are extremely left wing and obsessed with this renewable energy so-called revolution. And so he's trying to curry favour with them and get them ultimately to support him next time the leadership is up for grabs in the Labor Party. So It's unfortunate that that's just the skewed incentives now of the Labor Party, but that's transparently, in my view, what he's up to, because it just doesn't make any sense otherwise. Why would you keep doing this? And his legacy is potentially going to be trashed because he's just trashing the energy system as we speak.
Surely the practical and sensible thing to do, Matt, is look at the coal-fired assets that we have. You have plenty of them in Queensland. Obviously, you've got Eraring in New South Wales and you've got the Latrobe Valley in Victoria. You go to those distressed assets as they're becoming, because they're getting older. And I saw you on Sky yesterday describing a coal-fired power station as a big machine. And big machines that get old sometimes break down. Don't you use that real estate and those transmission lines that already exist, upgrade them and get us across this yawning gap that we've got? Doesn't that just make absolute common sense?
Yeah, look, and that's why the coalition has been proposing that why don't we build nuclear power stations where the coal-fired power stations are. I think we should be building new coal-fired power stations too, because a nuclear industry will take a while for us to establish from nothing, and I don't know if we have that much time. The Snowy 2.0 project's now been going on for over 6 years, and we're still probably more than 6 years away from it being there. We could have built coal-fired power stations by now, high-efficiency, low-emission ones. We should get on with this, because the other problem here is the costs that Chris Bowen is relying on. Don't know if he's looked too closely at some of these reports. They don't actually factor in a lot of the transmission costs, storage costs, extra pumped hydro like Snowy 2.0 we need. They don't factor that in before 2030. So the CSIRO report that we constantly get thrown at us, the so-called Gen Cost report, it doesn't factor in those costs. And so that's going to add up to a lot of money, that transmission stuff. You're going to have to pay that in your power bill. And so whenever you hear the words renewable energy is the cheapest form of power, their calculations don't actually add everything up that you're going to have to pay for. It would make a lot more sense to build new baseload power systems where our old baseload power systems use the same transmission network, disrupt much fewer farmers' properties in doing so, and ultimately deliver cheaper power to us all.
Yeah, Matt, common sense doesn't seem very common around here at the moment on this whole issue. Thanks again for talking to us. It was great to catch up with you.